The folklore talked about a witch that lived on the threshold that separated the living world from the spirit world. It was said that she would send her faithful servants, the Navs, who were merciless half-birds, half-humans, to abduct children and bring them to her den, where she devoured their souls. The parents forgot their children, as if they had never existed. One day, a boy with a pure and bright soul managed to defeat the witch and imprison her in the world of the spirits. However, the witch didn't give up. She began looking for someone whose pure soul would become darker than night, and cross the borders of the two worlds, someone who had already been there once. That someone would help her get back. The witch was known as Yaga. Igor is walking alone at night in a deserted street. He sees his mom at a distance, walking towards him. He's happy to see her after all this while. She looks very young and asks Igor's help to return. Igor's expression changes, and his mom asks him if she passed away before a car comes charging at them. Igor wakes up with a start. Julia, his stepmom, is standing at the door of his room because he has been screaming in his sleep. She sits with him and tries to talk to him about the move. She says she doesn't like it either, but she is distracted by her daughter crying from the other room. Igor rudely asks her to leave and attend to her daughter. He never truly accepted her or her daughter as his mom and sister, even though they have been a family for a long time. Igor's dad, Alexei, is setting up cameras to keep an eye on the nanny they're hiring. Igor doesn't show it, but enjoys seeing his baby sister play in her crib. At school, some older kids are bullying Dasha. Igor intervenes, but gets beaten up by one of the elder kids, Anton. Before they can do any more harm, Dasha stops Anton, and a teacher calls from behind, making the three older kids walk away. Dasha helps Igor get up and leaves for her class. After school, he introduces himself to Dasha, as they are neighbors. Dasha introduces herself, but she soon leaves because her mother is strict with her no-boyfriend policy. When he arrives home, he finds his baby sister on a chair. A woman comes in and says it's dangerous to put the baby in the chair. No one believes him when he says he didn't put the baby there. Not even Julia, who then introduces him to their new nanny, Tatiana. Igor is not happy and leaves the room. Julia apologizes, but Tatiana says it is fine. She always finds a way with the kids. Once Julia leaves, as Tatiana cradles the baby, the mirror shows a reflection of a gruesome hand reaching out to the paper pigeon hanging from the roof. Igor has taken a liking to Dasha. In his room, he contemplates whether to send her a friend request. He decides to do it. He finds Tatiana odd after their little conversation, in which she insinuates that Igor might not get a chance to grow up. Visibly shaken by her strange behavior, he sees her seductively talking to his dad, and he doesn't like it. While practicing basketball with his dad, he questions his dad why he's not affected by the nanny's strange behavior. Alexei dismisses him, which makes him angry. His dad stops him to remind him of the accident in which Igor survived, but his mother passed away. Enraged, he throws the ball hard. A man with a bewildered expression catches the ball. He passes it back, but Igor keeps staring at him for some reason. At night, Igor is woken up by a notification call. The camera in the baby's room shows someone near the crib. He tiptoes to the baby's room and finds nobody there. But when he looks at his phone screen, it shows someone sitting in the chair. He tries to figure out what it is by taking the camera close to the chair, but the baby's cooing distracts him right in time to see the gruesome hand emerging from the side of the crib. But a woman with half-bird face suddenly appears in front of him, making him run back to his room. He closes the door behind him, fearing that the creature will follow him. When nothing happens, he tries to peep through the slit under the door, and sees the creature has one normal leg and an inverted pyraminx in place of the other. His door opens on its own. Thinking the creature is coming for him, he throws his basketball in the dark. It hits Julia, giving her a bloody nose. His parents don't believe his story. His father is particularly harsh, because Igor doesn't want to let go of his mom's memories. When they leave, Igor finds a hole in the floor just outside his door, making him believe what he saw was real. Igor and Dasha are kindling a new friendship. They bump into each other outside a store one day, but the three bullies are not done with them. They chase the two into the thick, dark forest. Anton gets caught in the thin red threads tied all around the place. He is helped by the peculiar man who gave Igor's ball back the other day. Dasha and Igor come across an old metal structure and go inside to hide. The man's name is Marachny, an artifact hunter who lives in the forest. The three decide to return. Igor and Dasha look around the structure and find a furnace. As they are exploring, Igor soon gets a notification on his phone, and he sees Julia in the baby's room, which is webbed with the wool she was knitting before falling asleep. Simultaneously, Julia also sees the same. Igor and Dasha rush back, but find the room perfectly normal. Dasha believes his camera is acting up. Julia is nowhere to be found. Dasha proposes to stay, but she has piano lessons, so she leaves soon. Igor has a nightmare about being attacked by an invisible entity, and his baby sister being made to sit in the furnace by something that Igor can't make out. That morning, he wakes up with a dreadful feeling. He goes to his baby sister's room and finds it empty. He sees his family picture on the wall, but his sister disappeared from the photograph. He freaks out and goes to his parents, who are having breakfast at the time. He tells them his baby sister is missing, but they don't seem to recall having a daughter. He tries his best to make them remember, but only to face the temper of his father, who locks him up in his room. He texts Dasha for help, and she asks him to meet her at the park. He quickly makes a makeshift rope with the bedsheets, and sneaks out of his room. Dasha's mother is strict when it comes to Dasha being friends with boys. It is because Dasha's mom was in a relationship with a man who wooed her and got her pregnant before abandoning her. She doesn't let Dasha leave and sends her to practice piano. Alexei seems to be in a trance and talks to Julia as if he's talking to Tatiana. He repeats what Tatiana says. Julia is genuinely worried about Igor and is a little overwhelmed by Alexei's harsh behavior towards his son. It turns out that Tatiana is Dasha's piano teacher. After a hard exercise, she hears her mom call her, even though her upper body is her mom's. Her one leg is made of metal in the shape of an inverted pyraminx. Suddenly, a hand comes from behind, pulling Dasha into the darkness. Igor sneaks out of his window and sees Dasha walking in the park. But when he calls out to her, she doesn't respond. When he turns her, she looks possessed as her eyes are foggy and she mindlessly repeats something till Igor jerks her to bring her back to her senses. She too has forgotten about Varya, his baby sister. Anton and his other friends aren't going to leave them alone. They take them to Marachna's house in the forest, and Anton asks Igor to sneak inside. He plans to destroy Marachna's collection to teach him a lesson for the other day. Once inside, Igor looks around and under the bed, and out of nowhere, a child's hand reaches out to him and vanishes as fast as it came. He then finds photographs of them on the wall. He calls Dasha and Anton in while Machai guards from outside the house, but he soon runs away as Marachna is back. The kids hide when he steps in, but seeing Dasha in trouble, Anton and Igor tackle him and Dasha uses her taser to stop him. They tie him up and ask him about the woman in the photograph that is of particular interest to them. It is Tatiana's picture. Marachna reveals it is his wife, who passed away after their daughter went missing. He knows about the children disappearing and the parent not remembering their own kids who went missing. He further tells them that one day he remembered an old dream about his baby. He realized that evil had entered the city, and since then, he understood that whenever a child went missing, there was a power cut. He started keeping a tab on every kid in the city. If a kid suddenly disappeared from the photo, it meant everybody had forgotten them. Igor asks if his wife is doing it, but he says it is always someone who can get in a house easily, someone the family trusts. The internet has folklore with the same description. It is about a Salvic demon, Baba Yaga. They ask him about the metal structure, which Marachna says is an old power station that doesn't work. Igor asserts it does, and the three visit it, leaving Marachna tied in his home. Marachna is able to untie himself, but only to come face to face with evil. The kids soon reach the power station, and Igor climbs into the furnace and finds a weird place at the other end with many wires intertwined. When he tries to look at what is on the other side of the wire web, he gets pulled in. Dasha and Anton follow him into the furnace. They soon come out, but don't remember anything. Anton is jealous of Igor's closeness with Dasha, so he ignites a fight and Dasha soon leaves. Igor is sick of Anton, and he tackles him to the ground, revealing he's stronger than Anton. Anton leaves too, and Igor picks up the picture of his family that he dropped during his fight, and when he looks at it, Varya is in it. Even though everything looks the same, there is something odd about the town. Nobody can hear or see them. It is as if they have become ghosts. They are in a different world that is similar to theirs. Igor saves Eva from the evil Eva, who had come out of the poster by breaking Dasha's phone. He realizes where Varya could be, and the two make their way through the foggy town. They soon reach Marachna's house. Igor looks under the bed, and a girl with glowing blue eyes comes out. Igor and Dasha are initially scared, but when she starts talking to them, they calm down. She has Varya in her safekeeping. Anton is taken by the witch to her den. He lies entangled in the power cords. The little girl tells them about the invisible birds, the Navs who help the witches. Soon Igor's and Dasha's eyes start turning blue, which means they are being forgotten. Soon a Navi comes there, and the kids hide under the bed, covered with the cloak that masks their smell. When they almost get caught because of Varya's crying, the little girl sacrifices to save them. Igor suggests going back to the furnace. They cover themselves with the cloak and set out into the forest. Anton screams for help and wiggles to get free from the cords as his friend, who was also caught by a Navi, is eaten by the witch. The little girl is also brought there by another Navi. She helps Anton escape. Soon Igor, along with Varya and Dasha, arrive there. They take the little girl along with them into the furnace, but the other end is closed with the wires, which don't budge even when Anton tries his best. But when Igor tries, the cords move, making way for them. The little girl calls Igor, the one who has passed once. The little girl soon vanishes, as she is forgotten, because in the real world, Marachna has blown out the candle that helped him remember his lost daughter. Before vanishing, she tells them to hold on to their best memory. They successfully make their way out, but they are forgotten. Their parents refuse to recognize them. Varya is gone again. Julia, however, sits with Igor, and he makes her remember Varya by giving her Varya's little sock which she had knitted. The memories of her little daughter come back to Julia. Igor is hopeful again, and he leaves to find Varya. But before he can leave the house, Alexei, under Tatiana's spell, chases Igor with an electric screwdriver. But before he can harm his own son, Julia intervenes and saves Igor. Igor meets with Dasha and Anton. They plan to burn the witch to put an end to any more children disappearing. They go to Marachna's house and light the candle back again to make him remember his daughter. Even though he remembers her, the three tell him she's gone as they saw her disperse in front of them. But Marachna believes she's still alive. They equip themselves with the necessities and make their way to the furnace. Once there, they pour kerosene to burn the place once they've retrieved Varya. The kids climb into the furnace, but Marachny gets caught by a Navi, his wife Tatiana, and is stabbed by its metal foot. Igor sees his mom holding Varya. Anton and Dasha's eyes turn gray as they are forgotten. His mom asks Igor to eliminate Varya so she can come to life again and they can be together. Igor refuses and finally accepts his mom is no more, breaking the witch's spell. The witch finally reveals herself. She is completely made of red ropes. She captures Igor in her rope web. Meanwhile, Marachny reminds Tatiana their daughter is alive. Tatiana remembers the witch had promised to bring her daughter back if she got her the boy. Marachny tells her that he has parents too. Alexei is out of his trance and remembers his son. Anton and Dasha are also tangled in the ropes. Anton throws the firework towards Igor and distracts the witch by calling out to her. Igor uses it to fire it at the witch's face, and she starts burning. Tatiana's body also disperses. Once the witch is burnt, amidst the flying ashes, they spot Varya sitting and cooing. They make their way out of the furnace and light it on fire. The whole power station explodes, leading to a blackout in the entire town. Anton helps Marachny to his house, while Igor and Dasha reunite with their respective families. After a few days, the three kids visit Marachny at his house. They help him take down the photos. To commemorate their journey together, they take a picture. Anton helps Marachny with his stuff. When Dasha and Igor are left alone, Igor hears rustling, and he sees the candle burning. The little girl appears in front of him, saying the witch can never be eliminated. She puts her finger on her lips, asking him to be quiet.